welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you are watching a crafty piece of content here on the channel. As you will know, in my planning video, new resolutions video, I can't remember which one it was, I talked about sewing projects and how I had my first one, and it is this dress. And I have been working on it, and the actual dress is finished. I want to do a bit of a chest piece to go over it, so that's not done yet. But one of the big parts of the project is beading. Now, I am just doing the first pass of little tiny teeny weeny little, let me see, can I get one to show you? This is the size of the beads, because I hate myself. And I'm going to do them all up the hem because it has this this kind of design. Oh, well, things going up it. There's somewhere it's just stitched in. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's very exciting. This is a dress for a lot that will be happening, fingers crossed, in May. And I play a character in that who essentially runs the admin, because of who I am as a person, of the magic system. And the dress is part of that, and I can't talk too much about that because it would spoil things for the game. And I thought that because I was talking about a character that I play, I would talk about some of my favourite characters, character tropes, character ideas, and that we just sit for a cosy however long and do some crafting. So grab your knitting needles, grab your... Ooh, my Portsmouth came out then. Grab your knitting needles, grab your... whatever else you're doing, really. A book. I don't know. Can you read and watch BookTube? I don't think I could. Grab a cat to pet, whatever you're doing. I expect the dog will interrupt at some stage. I don't know how long I'm going to go for, but we'll see. I'm just going to keep threading tiny beads onto this dress in the hope that one day it will have enough beads that it looks finished, which at present it does not. I'm just going to thread this needle. This might just take a moment. I might start with a sequin just because they feel more powerful. Where are my notes? I made notes for this because I wanted this originally to be a full craft project vlog like I did for the dragon skirt, and then realised quite swiftly that this project was probably too large to try and take on at the same time as producing a video. So we let go of that dream fairly quickly. One sequin. We're on a roll. Where can I put this that's going to be nice and easy to access? I need like a stack. Thankfully, I've got a lot of good stacking books just here. First types of characters that I absolutely love are lady scholars. Now, I've talked about this in many a video, and nothing has changed. No, nothing has changed. I still love them with all of my heart and all of my being. Just give me any woman who's keen to learn, and I will see myself in her and love her and adore her and want to be her and want to have all the best things for her. So I have a number that I have pulled out, and either you can look these up for yourself or Editing Judith will put the covers on screen. I'm going to guess she'll put the covers on screen because at the moment you're just watching me wearing a poncho doing something slightly out of frame. So my most obvious one, my first one that I think probably springs to mind first, is Lady Trent from the Memoirs of Lady Trent, otherwise known as A Natural History of Dragons. She is absolutely fantastic. So this is a series where it's sort of fantasy Regency England, and in book one she is sent off into town to find herself a husband, but she has a passion for dragons and learning about things, and the first book is obviously written as memoirs, and it is her first expedition to study dragons. And as the books go on, we learn more about her as a character and about scholarship, and her just... The thing that is the thread between all of the books is her sheer desire to learn more about dragons and to study them. And what I really like about that series is that it sort of explores those very early days of the scientific method, and she goes from being an amateur scholar to gaining some repute, because obviously we're reading it knowing that she is now a famous scholar. She's just so enjoyable. I love every stage of her life that you get to explore her at. She's just fantastic. And if I could meet a fictional character and have dinner with them, Lady Trent would be high up on that list. And another thing I love about that is the companion novel Turning Darkness into Light features her granddaughter. And I love the idea that she's passed down that love of learning, and that's something that I definitely experienced in my family. And they are wonderful books if you want that memoir style, adventure style kind of book. What's happening here? Do I just have a piece of hair flicking me in the head? I do. Another lady scholar who really tickled my fancy in the last couple of years is Elise, who is a character in the Rainwilds Chronicles? Rainwild's just series by Robin Hobb. So it's one of the series in the realm of the Elderling overarching series, and it's not to be read until you've read Live Ships, I was told quite firmly, and they're right, they're probably right. But I think it's one of my favourite of the Robin Hobb series just because of the characters. And Elise is a woman who would really like to study, in this case she wants to study the Elderlings, so this ancient, long-gone race of people, and to study dragons. And again, we have this person trying to apply the scientific method as best she can in a world that really, really doesn't have the time for it right then. And her story is fantastic. She comes from quite a bad relationship and just gets stuff done and is happy and learns to love and just, it's so wonderful. That whole series is fantastic. I think Elise is probably my favourite character in that series. It is a multi-character series. And if you, like me, love Lady Scholars, that is one to go with. I think my thing with Realm of the Elderlings, and one day I will make a video talking about them because I have read all of them, is that people start with Assassin's Apprentice, and while Assassin's Apprentice, that whole trilogy, the Farseer trilogy, is fantastic, for some people, you need more women and you need more other things going on. And for that, I recommend Rainwilds and Live Ships, and then you can come back to the other ones. Will you miss some references? Yes, but this is a series that I think was written to be reread, and thus you can read it again and go, oh, I've just realised that was that the whole time. Which I actually did because I read the first book of Rainwilds and then went back and read Live Ships and then reread the first book of Rainwilds. So, do what you want, I'm not your mum, Elise is a great character. Moving into some middle grade or younger YA middle grade content, The Lie Tree by Frances Harding. I do have a review up for this, which, if I remember, I will link. This is a standalone book featuring a character called Faith, who really wants to be a scientist just like her father, or a natural scientist, sort of like precursor to science. You know, we're digging fossils out of the ground, we're not thinking too hard about it, we're making best guesses, that kind of time period. And the thing I love about Faith is her commitment to learning in the face of adversity, which is another thing that features in a lot of these books. A lot of people telling her, no, you can't do that, you can't try and solve your father's murder, that would be not okay. And she's like, I'm going to go solve my father's murder, and I'm going to be a great person. And she's just fantastic. That whole book is gloriously creepy, just wonderful to read. And part of that reason is Faith as a character. But yeah, I figured there should be at least one character on this list that wasn't a specific Lady Scholar of Dragons, which is my dream job, by the way. And I don't know if she would fit in scholarship, or if there should be a whole other category for librarians, because as we all know, if you are queer in some way, you will at some point fall in love with the librarian. But we have... What is her name? Why can't I remember her name? I'm going to look it up. Claire. I knew it was something. Hell's Library features a librarian called Claire, who is in charge of a collection of books in hell. It is not a demonic library by any stretch of the imagination, but it is where all the books that people start but never finish go. And sometimes characters from those books go missing, and Claire sort of could feature in a whole bunch of different places on this list of characters who I love, but I've put her in Lady Scholars because if you've read the second book, she has many interests and much knowledge to share and go through this fabric. Sometimes this fabric is thicker than other times and it's more difficult. And I just love how organised she is, what a good leader she is, and even amongst all of the self-doubt she experiences across this series, which is not yet complete, she's just fantastic. Would want to hang out with Claire in a crisis. So next in my list of awesome people is, I've gone with monarchs and rulers. Now, rulers come in all different shapes and sizes, but I'm going for people who are in charge of running a nation is sort of where I've drawn the line. So the first on my list is Lyn from Bone Shard Emperor, because as you will know, I can barely get through a video without bringing up Bone Shard Emperor. I am what I am. And the thing I like about Lyn, particularly in book 2, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but if you don't want to hear about book 2, you can skip ahead. So ready to, again, to learn. Maybe all of these are just going to be people who are excited to learn, but she's really trying to figure out what's best for both her, for her relationships, for her friends, for her empire, and trying to work out a way of dismantling some of the ways of controlling people that have existed previously. And I think it's really exciting to see a character go into leadership where they haven't been before. So in book 1, she is not. There is a different Bone Shard Emperor at that time. She just is a cool character, and I wanted to bring her up, and I wasn't sure what category to put her in, so I put her in Monarchs and Rulers. And you should read the Drowning Empire series, because it's fantastic. This was thrown onto this list at the last minute, because I can't remember any of the characters' names, but I have read Queen of Coin and Whispers, and whatever the main character's name in that was a very cool ruler, and that's also Sapphic, so go off. I'm just going to find the name of the monarch in this. Glyselda. That's what it is. Seraphina, Shadow Scale. Glyselda is a princess heir to the throne in the first book, and not to spoil anything, but she gains more authority at a certain point in the series, has to make some very tough decisions, and I can't get into how emotional and tough some of those decisions are without totally spoiling some elements of book 2 for you, but having read both book 1 and 2, I adore her. She is such a good character. She is such an interesting person to explore as somebody who you sort of write off in book 1 a little bit. I don't want to go into it in too much detail, but she's just amazing, and I'm out of thread. Then another just person in charge, she is not the ruler of a nation, so I go back on what I said earlier, but she is on this list, is Lucky Mies from R.J. Barker's Tide Child series, which I talk about all the time, so I don't think it'll be a surprise that it's come on this list. At the beginning of book 1, Lucky Mies takes over running the Tide Child, which is a bone ship, from Joran. Joran or Jovan? I can never remember, but from the main character, the person who is telling the story, she takes over. She's like, no, you are useless. I am taking over this boat. And for the beginning part of the book, he is not super happy about that and would quite like to take control of the boat back. But I'm saying boat, I mean ship. It's all fine. And gradually realises that, oh my goodness, this woman is super competent and amazing at what she does. And I just love any story with any gender of leader getting a group of people or a band of people or a troop or whatever, getting them organised and getting them sorted and just getting everybody working towards a common goal. Something about that's one of my favourite things in fiction. And if it's a woman doing it, all the better. Lucky Mies is just a fantastic character. If you have read all 3 books, you will know this. She's just unwaveringly competent, and yet we get to see so much vulnerability from her in the parts of the story that we get from her perspective. Just so good. I've heard very good things about R.J. Barker's writing of older women in other series, which I haven't read yet. I do have the 2nd and 3rd book in the Wounded Kingdom. I need to get the first one. I picked those up in a charity shop, and I'm excited to get to them at some point. But Justine has said very good things about them, so I will get to them at some point when I'm not trying to bead 7 meters of hem, because I hate myself. I dare say I will come up with other characters as I'm staring around. I mean, there's obviously Sabran from Priory of the Orange Tree, but I don't think I've read that recently enough to be able to talk about her in any great detail. I have very poor memory of that book, actually. Next up on my list, Plucky Thieves. I love them. I love them with all of my being. I think it stems from how obsessed I was with the Thief Lord as a child. So obsessed. Worryingly obsessed with Scipio from the Thief Lord. Oh boy. There are some obvious ones. Foundryside has a plucky thief in it whose name I can't remember, and I'm going to look up. Sanchia, that's what it is. So Sanchia is a plucky young thief who gets caught up in events much bigger than she ever could have anticipated that she's not super keen to be caught up in. And that is one of my absolute favourite tropes of all time. And that book has just so much humour. Sanchia's got so much bite to her as a character, which I absolutely love. I now own the 2nd book in the series, so I'm very excited to read Shorefall at some point and have more thoughts on it. I must get to reviewing that series at some point as well, because I talk about it all the time and I never have a review to link it to. It is what it is. Obviously, we have the con artist extraordinaire that is Ren from The Mask of Mirrors. If you haven't read The Mask of Mirrors, or any of the Rook and Rose trilogy, I believe it's meant to be a trilogy, you are missing out. Because if you like ball gowns, dresses, but also thievery, just amazing dance scenes, character stuff, mistaken identity, all of the above, you just need to read them. You just do. Everyone needs to read them. You've got to get on it. Get on it right now. But I particularly love Ren's smarts and her ability to think on the fly and adjust, and how much she loves her family, and everything about her is just great. And one thing I really like about Ren is her teamwork. And I think often these kind of plucky thief books, actually I love them because of the ensemble and the characters that surround that plucky thief character. And the same can be said for Little Thieves, for Vanya in Little Thieves, who has a wonderful ensemble cast around her and is also a thief con artist. It's more complicated than that, but she has a lot going on, and I think she fits into this category, I believe. She's great. More of a troublemaker than a plucky thief, but another Frances Hardinge is Deep Light with Hark. I thought I should probably get at least one male character onto this list at some point. Hark is fantastic. I love Hark's ability to learn and grow across the book. This is a sea-based, weird, wonderful adventure, mystery, sort of slight horror. I'd say creepy. It's creepy fiction, and it's just fantastic. And I have a full review up for it if you would like to read it. But Hark as a main character, I was really surprised by how much I liked him, because I don't tend to like male middle grade or younger YA characters. But Hark is just lovely. And we have Cal? See, this is the problem. I can never remember character names. Carrie. There we go. Main character Carrie, who is another one of these plucky thieves, and again has a wonderful group of people around her that's just amazing, and exploring this gloriously weird world that is the world of the Black Iron Legacy. I have a review up for that series as well, so again, I won't waffle, but she's just wonderful, and her friends are wonderful, and I wish her all the best in all of her endeavours in book 4 and 5. I think we're ready for another sequin. It's been a while. Let's do another sequin. Let's do it here. I have read a fair amount of other plucky thief books. Those are the ones that really stuck with me and I think felt more than just a reproduction of something else, you know? And maybe you disagree, but I think it always depends what you read first. And often, even if something was published after something else, someone will be like, that's just this. And I'm like, but I didn't read that beforehand, so it doesn't count to me. It's its own unique thing. My next category I've given myself is quests and questers, but I've not written any names in there, so I think we're going to come up with those on the fly, with 5 minutes before I'm going to have to restart this video recording. So, Tess from Tess of the Road is an obvious one. She's fantastic. That's a great story. Same world as Seraphina and Shadowscale. I talk about it all the time. I'm so excited for In the Serpent's Wake. I'm really looking forward to it. Laszlo Strange from Strange the Dreamer. Love him, love his adventure, love that whole duology, yes. Alright, I'm going to restart this and we'll keep going, because there are more beads to be sown and more characters to talk about. Who else does a quest? Why can't I think of anyone? I guess Nari from Daevabad, which I've just looked at behind me, is where that's come to mind. I've lost my needle now. Why? There we go. She has quite a big arc across all 3 books and does all of the things. She's both a plucky thief, she's a ruler, she's a morally ambiguous in sometimes, she's questing, she's doing all of the above. Nari is a great character. That's a great series for characters in general. Alright, apparently I can't think of anyone who goes on a quest ever, so I suggest we move on before I have far too much footage to edit. Whatever have I done with my phone? Why am I like this? Morally grey. Villains or morally grey characters? I think I'm going to focus in on morally grey characters, because that's much more interesting to me. I'm currently rereading the Poppy War trilogy, and I think Rin is such a fascinating character for that. Just her anger, and whether it's righteous anger or not, and discussions of just war. That kind of feels what a lot of the book is about, to me at least, at the moment. And I think Rin is in some ways such a victim of circumstances, and in other ways makes her own choices and maybe makes less than good choices. I don't know, she's just hitting home in this reread, I think, how much Rin is put in positions where you can read it as her having a choice or not having a choice, depending on perhaps how forgiving you're feeling that day. And I find that very fascinating. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein features a character called Elizabeth, unsurprisingly. And I really love that book. For every time I've read it, I've kind of had a different perspective on Elizabeth as a character. The first time I read it, I was like, but she's so complicit in all of these things that are happening. It's a retelling of Frankenstein. I don't think you need to know too much about it. And the second time I read it, I was like, oh, I totally read that wrong. She's a victim. And I think it'd be really interesting to read it again. I tend to read it around Halloween and just see how I'm feeling about it that year. What are my feelings on Elizabeth? So I like that character study as something to explore. Savine Glotka from the Age of Madness trilogy, which I do have a reading blog up for, is such a fascinating character to me. She is horrible in so many ways, just horrible, and yet I really found myself rooting for her. I wanted her to win. I wanted her to succeed. I wanted her to have a nice life, even though her nice life would probably have meant the destruction of many people's livelihoods. Why was that? So interesting. I think that's one of the ways you can tell a character is well written, is if you're rooting for them even when they do pretty foul things. And I think Joe Abercrombie, particularly in his more recent stuff, is really good at writing that kind of character, particularly that kind of female character. I could talk about the characters in The Age of Madness all day, but I think Savine is the one I'm going to bring up. I think similarly, I could talk about pretty much any character from the Greenbone saga, but I've talked about that quite a lot recently, so just, you should read that series if you haven't read them already, because who doesn't love complicated family, morally ambiguous stuff? I'm throwing beads all over the floor. Warriors. Now again, some characters from previous categories could fit into this, but I wanted to talk about Touraine, who is a really interesting character from C.L. Clarke's The Unbroken. Is it The Unbroken or just Unbroken? I think it's The Unbroken. And she is a warrior fighting, but returning to the world she has been, or the place that she has been taken from, and being part of the colonization of that place, and it's just a fascinating exploration of like what you fight for and who you fight for, and Touraine's arms is all I will say on that one. I am incredibly excited for the second book in that series. Sorry, I'm just finishing off this thread, then I will be right back with you. Just to give you a bit of reference, this is where we started. This is where we started. It's been half an hour and I've made it to here. That is not even one full panel of the skirt. And I need to go up as well as a lot. It's going to be hours, but not for you, because I will switch to my audiobook after this. Characters with skills. Now, this is a really interesting one. So quite often you read books with a character who has a skill that will feature in battle. Archery comes to mind. I mean, who among us wasn't a teenager when the Hunger Games came out and really thought they could be an archer? Fun fact, my mum actually was. She won archery prizes. We had a bow and arrow in our garage. Ugh. My arm is full of surprises. After a bit of palaver, I am back. So, characters with skills, characters with non-battle related skills, or skills that maybe are used for battle, but perhaps could be used in other places. Jebby from Phoenix Extravagant by Yoon Ha Lee is a painter. I realised I'd read very few books featuring characters with artistic talents that were the main reason they were in the position they were in. I mean, I've read books where characters can draw, but it's almost always like a bonus thing where it's like, oh, you can draw, let me use it to draw you late in the night, and then we shall fall in love because you have drawn a lovely picture of me reflecting parts of my personality I have never seen reflected before. You know, whereas Jebby is like, I am good at painting, and they're like, oh great, you can have a job related to painting, but also it will be painting things that will make violent creatures come to life. Thanks so much for your time. That's a very broad summary of what have I done? Nope, I made it worse. So that's one that I could think of. Jebby is a really interesting character. Phoenix Extravagant is a weird book. It has a lot of really good moments in it. The ending is a little bit less solid, but I'm doing a bit more Yoon Ha Lee reading in the coming weeks, so I'm thinking maybe I will come back to Phoenix Extravagant after that and just, you know, when you've read a lot more of an author's work, you get a better sense of their kind of themes and what they want to explore and what they're trying to get at with stuff. That's something I might do. And the other character is another character from The Mask of Mirrors, but it is Tess, who is a seamstress. And that is my absolute favourite thing in the world, and if I could read whole books of just Tess sewing amazing ball gowns, I would. Unsurprisingly, I relate to it. And I have a lot more respect for characters who sew in books, having learned to sew over the past couple of years. Can I think of any others? This is the thing, because they tend to need to be skills that will work for a plot. I mean, obviously we have characters who are skilled seductresses. I can't think of any right now. I've done it again. I can't think of any right now, but they do exist. Oh, what about the tea monk from Monk and Robot 1, from A Psalm for the Wild Built. They are good at making tea. That's a nice skill. How do I keep doing this? How do I keep forgetting to put the needle up? It's a sign I need to stop soon. Do I have any more categories on my list? Magic users. Oh, that's a tricky one because, again, so many of these characters are also magic users. The one that came to mind was Agnieszka, I think is how you say her name, but I might be mixing that up with another friend of mine who that is her name, possibly. From Uprooted is a really fun magic user. I talk about Uprooted all the time. It's one of my go-to comfort reads. I've read it so many times. It's just fantastic, and it has a really cool magic system that I won't get into because it is a little bit of a spoiler to talk about how she uses magic. I like anything where the character learns how to use magic across the course of the book and often defies how people think magic should be done. That's one of my favourite tropes as well, and that hits all of those things on the head. I'm trying to think what other magic users I know of in my life. Oh, I haven't talked about... Oh, how am I getting through all of these? And I haven't talked about Vasya yet. Vasya is obviously from the Winter Night trilogy. It's one of my all-time favourite trilogies. I haven't reread it this year, and I feel sad not having done so. But she kind of fits into heaps of these categories. She is, in some ways, a leader. She is a badass lady warrior. She is a person who would like to learn. She is a magic user. She has all of the things. I adore her. That whole series would be less good if Vasya were an irritating character, but she's not. She's just trying her best and doing what she thinks is right and has a strong sense of justice. I could also include any Tamara Pierce characters because they're all great. I would say Dane is probably my favourite, but it's by the by. All of them are good. I think I need to stop. I think I need to stop before this footage is like 4 hours long. Basically, if I've loved a book, it's a good shout that I loved it because of the characters. If the characters aren't strong, very rarely will I say that a book was worth reading. And I have heaps of upcoming books this year that I think are going to have characters I'm really going to love. So I should probably sign off so I can finish this in time to actually read some of them. Do you have a favourite character? Do you have a collection of favourite characters? Is there a character-based trope that you particularly enjoy? Let me know down in the comments below. Are you working on any crafts at the moment? I would also love to know that. We do have a dedicated craft-based channel in my Discord. I don't use it very often because quite often when I'm doing crafts I'm busy swearing at things, but I will probably post a picture of this on here when it is done, so if you would like to see that, come join us on Discord. If you are a patron, thank you so much for being a patron. Would you be interested in craft-based live streams as a patron perk? I think that could be really good fun. Or as not a patron perk, if you're just somebody who would like to do a live where we sit and craft together, please let me know. And thank you so much for watching. I apologise for the fact that for the whole of this I've looked like Miss Darbus from High School Musical in my poncho, but it is really cold up in my office and I would like to keep all of my fingers intact. I've done Discord. Have I said follow me on social media? If you would like to, please do. That's all from me and I will see you in the next one. I should probably show you where I've got to. I'll try and show you. So, this was that first sequin I sewed on. And then we go all the way to here. But it will go quite far up the skirt because this whole mug is full of tiny beads. Right.